I apologize if this is a painfully mediocre review for you, but you guys are here for it. You'll hang with me. Oh, I love my viewers. I usually don't make videos about trending topics going around on YouTube because, quite frankly, I don't have the time or the energy to stay that focused on current events and topics. But this one I thought was a little different. This one caught my eye, and it's about the Message to the Church by Jordan Peterson. And to be clear, I actually really like Jordan Peterson. I think he's well-spoken, eloquent, and has a backbone.
Up yours, woke moralists.
Admittedly, I'm a little late maybe making a sort of reaction video to his video because I just didn't want to jump on the bandwagon. I kind of wanted to take my time and think about it because I have what I call the rule of wait. Some of you guys have heard me use that term before, but basically it's me just waiting to speak because, quite frankly, sometimes I'm not very good at it. There are other people out here with YouTube channels that they can find a trending topic or find any topic that's relevant at the time and boom, make a video out of it. My brain does not work that way. Now, to be clear, I have purposely not watched any other person's videos, reaction videos to his video. I think John McCrae with What Do You Mean? Pretty sure he made one. Seems appropriate for him to make one. And then I know Ruslan made one. A few other people have made videos. I purposely stayed away from watching theirs just so I could authentically give my personal feedback. I have watched Jordan Peterson's video once. I'm going to re-watch it with you. I'm going to probably share the video or what I'm reacting to somewhere on here. I don't know how to do that, but I'll apparently have to figure it out. And guys, this is totally unscripted. What a risk.
Hi, all.
Hello.
It is, of course, completely presumptuous of me to dare to write and broadcast a video entitled Message to the Christian Churches, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have something to say and because that something needs to be said. It all started, in some sense, with the lectures I did on Genesis in 2017.
I think it's really interesting, by the way, that he's not a Christian, but obviously he believes in God, but he's giving lectures about biblical topics. I think that he sees the Bible as a source of antiquity with some sort of relevance to our society, Judeo-Christian society, and our background here in America.
I rented out a theater in Toronto on the off chance that there might be an audience for what might be described as a psychological approach to our ancient stories. And lo and behold, and miracle of miracles, there was.
I think, let me just say, I think one thing that people are really hungry for when it comes to learning about the Bible outside of a church context is, and I've talked about this before, is that I think people really, really crave just deep intellectual stimulation when talking about the Bible. I think that people kind of get like a Bible hangover, right? Where they go to church and maybe they hear the same things over and over again. It's life application to death. And people that really want some solid understanding of the Bible, I think somebody like Jordan Peterson appeals to that intellectual need. I just want to say that. I think that I would go to that meeting.
And the majority of those who watched online were young men. That is not a phenomenon that can be easily accounted for because of the weight of historical guilt that is upon us. Our young people face a demoralization that is perhaps unparalleled. This is particularly true of young men.
He's right. I think that I've kind of been spoiled my whole life as a Christian, kind of taking for granted that there's a separation from culture and Christianity, which, to be clear, was never true. I just don't think I noticed it as much as I do now. Goodness, you have to draw a line in the sand now. You got to decide who you're going to serve. I don't think that it's as easy to blur those lines anymore unless you're just a straight out, fully proclaimed progressive Christian. So he's talking about demoralization. Yes, morality is looked at as a bad thing, but we all intrinsically want it. It's really interesting.
Although anything that devastates young men will eventually do the same to young women. And that, in this era of antinatalism and equally reprehensible nihilism, is precisely the point.
I love it when Jordan Peterson uses big words. I almost need a dictionary every time I listen to this man.
When they are children, boys are hectored for their toy preferences, which often include toy weapons such as guns, and their more boisterous playing style, as boys require active rough and tumble play, even more than girls, for whom it is also a necessity.
Okay, two things. First, number one, I almost always have to apologize for dogs barking in my neighborhood. If you hear it, I have no control over that. Number two, again, I agree here. My background and my educational background and professional background is in early childhood multicultural education. I taught little kids for years. 2-year-olds are my favorite. Some of you just kind of cringed a little bit, but no, really, they're like amazing. But that is so true. I don't care what opinions are. If you were to look at biology, if you were to look at history, like if ancient antiquity, if you were to look at the natural differences between boys and girls, 100% true. Again, there is a spectrum. I remember little boys that loved playing with dolls, and I liked that, guys. That's a good thing. You need little boys to play house sometimes because you want them to be good fathers. You're teaching them nurturing skills as a parent. However, they are going to naturally exhibit more of a rough and tumble type personality. I actually have a lot to say on this topic, so I won't, but I think you guys get what I'm saying, that I agree with them. This is true.
When in grade school, boys are admonished, shamed, and controlled in a very similar manner by those who think that play is unnecessary, particularly if it's competitive, and who value a docile, harmless obedience above all.
Okay, so I never get to talk about like kids and my wheelhouse in that area. But let me just say something to the parents out there real quick because it's relevant to what he's saying. It's hard when you have a kid in your classroom that is tougher. It's not that they're being shamed or anything like that. It's that, you're just trying to organize your classroom. However, I'm going to say this. One of the best things you can do with your kids is play with them. A lot of the issues that kids have are not necessarily due to misbehavior. It's due to connection. It's not a behavior issue, it's a connection issue. And that requires coming on their level and playing with them a lot. Every kid has an emotional backpack, all right? And they're gonna get out their feelings some way, whether it's through fits, fighting, aggression. The alternative is laughing, getting them to laugh and play, wrestling with them. This sounds so simple, but spending that type of time with your children is very mentally healthy for them. And in the long run, mentally healthy for you. Again, I could say a lot on this topic. Oh, Jordan Peterson, you're getting my brain going this morning.
Human culture, particularly in the West, is best construed as an oppressive patriarchy, motivated by the desire, willingness, and ability to use power. Marriage is akin to slavery, friendship to exploitation, political disagreement to war, and business arrangements to deception and theft.
Obviously, he's building up to something here.
Human activity, particularly that undertaken in the West, is fundamentally a planet-despoiling enterprise. We might well be construed even as a cancer.
Also known as, we're probably overdue for an asteroid.
We are facing a Malthusian catastrophe of overpopulation and biosphere degradation. Privileges, that hated word of all things, the divine logos, the words of that mass murderer Karl Marx. And it is precisely those young men who are deeply conscientious, capable of guilt and regret, who have come to believe in pain that every deep impulse that moves them out into the world for the adventure of their life, even that impulse drawing them to women, is nothing but the manifestation of a spirit that is essentially satanic in nature. Okay,
so this is what I believe he was building up to. He's talking about male-dominated, patriarchal type societies. They run a certain way sometimes, and that's not always good. But guys, sometimes that's really good. And here he is saying that those natural instincts, those natural things that make you a man, that make you special and unique, that these things are demonized now. What I find, it's interesting, it's almost like it's turned on its head. So something that's good and natural in men, and what makes them unique as men is being told to them that this is bad, this is wrong. But those are the very things that create great civilizations too. And that's not to say that the women are not a part of that. I think that's the biggest problem here is, I am a woman, I have experienced the negative side of being a woman. Let me just put that lightly. So this is coming from somebody who has been scorned, somebody who has been picked last, somebody who has been, judged, preconceived to not know anything, or that I just belong in the kitchen, or I'm not even really worth that. I know what it's like to feel different in that way, and to look at a man, look at a boy, look at a guy, and think, wow, their life is so much easier and better. I wish I was a guy. I want those traits. I want to have what they have so that I can be more accepted in society, so that I can have these desirable things that seem to be manly. I see what he's saying here at this point. I think what he's saying are just general ideas about society, but we're over halfway through this video, and I know he's about to get into his thoughts about the church, which I'm sure I'll have more to say on.
This is not only wrong theologically, morally, psychologically, practically, and scientifically. The Christian church is there to remind people, young men included, and perhaps even first and foremost, that they have a woman to find, a garden to walk in, a family to nurture, an ark to build, a land to conquer, a ladder to heaven to build.
Okay, so first thought, that is true, but that's not why the church is here. I think that in, just Orthodox Christianity in general, if you were to read the Bible and say you didn't even agree with it, right? Let's just say that you read it, an ancient Middle Eastern book of antiquity, right? A historical book of the Jewish people, Jesus's life, whatever, right? The church's job is not to be just a societal example. It's to equip the saints. Like, there's an actual reason for the church, and it is for the Christians to go out and spread the Great Commission. It's to equip the saints to go out and do that. So what he's talking about does apply. So there's agreement here, but I think it's more than that. I'm probably going to have more to say on this in a second.
Invite the young men back. Say, literally, to those young men, you are welcome here. If no one else wants what you have to offer, we do. We want to call you to the highest purpose of your life. We want your time and energy and effort and your will and your goodwill. We want to work with you to make things better, to produce life more abundant for you and for your wife and children and for your community and your country and the world.
Okay, so again, I don't disagree here. Okay, but how to say this? When you're trying to preserve that and you say, oh, just go to church, it makes it sound like a country club. It makes it sound like the church is a safe space instead of really what it's supposed to stand for, which is to fill you up spiritually. So a societal preservation club is kind of what I'm getting, where it's like, hey, these things are good, these are true. Welcome young men to your church because these things need to be preserved. These are good things in our society, which I 100% agree with. And he's saying, hey guys, go to church because they're going to honor that in you. Let's keep listening.
And we have our problems in the Christian church. We are moribund and sometimes, far too often, corrupt, and sometimes deeply so. We are outdated, as are all institutions with their roots in the dead, but still often wise past.
That's true. I think that's a very fair statement. I mean, and that's coming from somebody that's, a Christian that goes to church. We say all the time, guys, right? There's no perfect church. I think anybody in the world, no matter what they believe in or what organization they're in, can honestly say that. from Buddhism to Christianity to a CEO at a company, a secular company, the White House. I mean, it's unavoidable. So I can't fault him for that opinion.
So join us. We'll help fix you up, and you can help fix us up. And together, we'll aim up.
Yes and no. I see what he's saying, because you need strong leadership in the church. And this might be controversial for some people, but the more that I'm seeing the hatred for men in our country, the more I'm seeing their worth. They're actually having the opposite effect on me. If we're trying to kill the patriarchy, I am the opposite. I'm actually seeing more and more of the worth of men in our society, in our churches. I understand the need there. However, it's more than just, go to church and help us out. Church is a very spiritual institution. It's a place where you go to learn more about God, the Bible, Jesus. You are being spiritually filled, but it's not a secular institution. It's not like you're going there to help us out in the sense that we just need you to be present. If you're going to go to church and help, be a strong spiritual leader. Guide people, men and women. Women need this too.
And here's a message to those young men skeptical about such things. What else do you have? You can abandon the churches in your cynicism and disbelief. You can say to yourself, narcissistically and solipsistically, the church does not express what I believe properly. Who cares what you believe?
Okay, pause. Again, here's my problem with this. We already have, he just got over talking about, the problems in the church, right? Where there are issues there. Sometimes, and you guys have heard me talk about this, if you've been on my channel any amount of time, I have things to say about how some churches are ran, particularly not just mega churches. I actually think that there's good mega churches, guys. That exists. I believe that people get saved in mega churches. But the mega church model is where I have a bone to pick, because it's seeker friendly. It's actually a word. It's a seeker friendly thing. And all they want to do is attract people to the church. But if I took a survey of these thousands of people walking through the doors of the church, I was one of them, by the way. I was basically a New Ager going to church every week. I did not know that what I believed was wrong. If I were to take a survey, I would say most of them don't know the gospel, probably have more progressive views, like, we can't trust the Bible. I don't know. I don't believe in hell. They don't have orthodox Christian beliefs, and they can't really explain the gospel, but we want them there because they're young men. I think this is a secular opinion on church. He's not wrong. We do need to invite, especially young men, into our church, but the reasoning matters. When you come to church, you're going to be among the saints. You're around people that have similar views to you. It does matter what you believe, and it matters what the church is teaching. This makes a big difference. All right, let's keep listening.
What if it was about others? What if it was about your duty to the past and to the broader community that surrounds you in the present? What if it was incumbent upon you and vital to your health and willingness even to live, to rescue your dead father from the belly of the beast?
When it's explained this way, it reminds me of asking you to go volunteer your time somewhere to help your community. It's just a short-changed example. When I participate in ministry, I'm serving you. Okay, so there's truth there, but he's saying, hey, it doesn't matter what you believe, it doesn't matter what the church teaches or agree, which I don't think is healthy at all. I think that that's kind of part of the problem we're having and we're trying to remedy. But he's saying, put that aside for your community, yes, but also no, because the church is not just a place where you go and serve the community. That's a huge part, don't get me wrong. But it's more than that. It's just kind of shortchanged.
Once again, to the churches, Protestant, you're the worst at the moment.
Golly, JP, tell me how you really feel.
Catholic, Orthodox, invite young men. Put up a billboard. Say, young men are welcome here.
All right, to pull a Greg Kokel here, I would, if I could, be face-to-face with Jordan Peterson. I would ask him, What do you mean by that? I'm obviously Protestant, but I don't like go around saying, hey, I'm a Protestant, I'm a Christian, I'm Bible believing Christian, And I think that there can be a spectrum of that, of what you find in Orthodox or Catholic churches, whatever, but I'm not sure exactly what he means. If he's like, hey, Protestants, you're the worst, is it about what I just said? Like where there's too much of a seeker-friendly vibe? Because that is a problem. But if you're an Orthodox or Catholic church, you want men to come, but then again, you have a really progressive pope. So this is where my mind goes. Like, what does he mean by that? I almost don't know how to comment because I need more information to make an educated opinion about his comment about that. So, I'm just going to put a pin in that because I just simply need more information.
Print some flyers and put them in a box by the billboard. Signal the existence of those flyers with an arrow with the words, "More information about attending here." Tell those who have never been in a church exactly what to do, how to dress, when to show up, who to contact.
This is the thing that made me look at bigger churches as incredibly appealing compared to what he's expressing now. A lot of people don't want to go to traditional churches. It's dry and stuffy. Maybe they've been hurt in a church before. It is not as black and white as he's making it seem. He's a smart man. I'm sure he knows that. But if you were to say, hey, all are welcome here, young men especially, or whatever it is, that's the demographic that you're trying to get, that's nothing new, especially for seeker-friendly mega churches. That's the exact model. In fact, there was a book that I read a long time ago. It was by a mega church pastor. I don't even remember which one it was. It was years ago. That was his actual equation of how to grow your church. Get the young men. How do you get the young men? And those were the things that he was describing almost as a format, a blueprint for other pastors to follow to get them in the church. So I don't think it's as black and white as young men are welcome here. Here's how to dress. A lot of young men don't want to follow rules or be told how to dress or do anything that they don't want to do. I'm here to tell you that young women are the same way. So
ask more, not less, of those you are inviting. Ask more of them than anyone ever has. Remind them who they are in the deepest sense and help them become that.
The first half of this video, I really didn't have much to comment on. I'll probably clip out a lot of that because I just didn't have much to say. But I don't know, JP, have you ever been to a Christian church? Has he ever volunteered or been involved with a Christian church? Because I'll tell you what, a lot of what the young men, if we're going to ask them to do more things, guess what we're probably going to ask them to do? Discipleship. We're going to ask them to disciple others. So their beliefs matter. The beliefs that if you're inviting young men, yes, come, please. We do need that. And we need men that are going to be more spiritually assertive. It is very interesting that a lot of women are way more involved in church than the men are. And it's good. But again, being a woman, I believe that I have some sort of authority to speak about my experience as a woman in the church, because this was my frustration, is that I craved really deep intellectual conversations. I really wanted to know the Bible. I needed discipleship. And it was really, really hard to go to a woman's Bible study where all I really learned was how to be a good wife. Those are good things, but there's an obvious imbalance of what we're going to see when it comes to the needs of discipleship and spiritual growth in our church. So I get what he's saying, but if you're bringing in young men, doesn't matter what they believe, into your church and put them to work, what does that mean? What does that look like? Because if you're trying to get them to disciple people, then their beliefs really, really matter. And even without discipling, you have pastoring. You have men that are involved in doing what? The church is not like a humanitarian secular organization. Some churches are, but the church of the body of Christ, right? Of believers. If you're actually going to go to a Bible-believing church, this stuff really matters.
Your churches, for God's sake. Quit fighting for social justice.
Oh.
Quit saving the bloody planet. Attend to some souls.
Yes.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes, I'm going to repeat that just because I agree with it so much.
Your churches, for God's sake. Quit fighting for social justice. Quit saving the bloody planet. Attend to some souls.
Okay, obviously I agree with him. I just wish that I could iron out what Mr. JP is saying here. What churches is he talking to? I mean, you have the progressive church, which really is not doing anybody any favors. It's more secular than anything. You have progressive preachers, progressive Christians, all that stuff in totally different genre. And then over on the other side here, you have this spectrum of churches that, they're Bible believing, but I mean, they got some issues. Maybe you got a mix of some mega church in there. Maybe you got some Baptist, some Lutheran. Essentials, they got. Non-essentials, we got to work on. And then you got Orthodox, you got Catholic. I mean, this is how my brain works. And this is probably why I don't do videos like this a lot, because I need more information. If he's talking to the progressive church, amen. They need to repent. They're in a position where there's more than major issues. They have apostatized, right? They've deconstructed. A lot of progressive Christians anyway have gone down that path. And a lot of progressive churches are no longer even biblically accurate. So what do you mean when you say cater to their souls? Two different beasts.
That's your holy duty. Do it before it's too late. And the hour is nigh.
Well, that was poetic. I, for the most part, agree with him. I do think that there's some problems with what he's saying. And a lot of it has to do with just the ambiguity of what he's saying. I get what he's saying on the surface. I think everybody gets that. Whether you needed a thesaurus to get through that or not. He's brilliant and he has great points. I get what he's saying in a social aspect. In a spiritual aspect, I have questions. Because of that, I'm not exactly sure what he means with some of it, but in other ways, it's easy to kind of interpret what he's saying and apply it to Christian churches in general. Because if that's what he's saying, I'm not sure he understands that there's a difference here between going to a Mormon church and a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall and a Baptist church. There's pretty big differences there. The goal that's put forth is really shortchanged in my opinion. The goal is, hey, here, let's make this a place where you can come and be safe as a young man. You can be yourself. Your masculinity is safe here, right? I agree with that 100%, as I explained. Where it falls short, I think, is the overall point of what the church stands for. So that was a lot. That was actually really fun to do a reaction video. I think the last reaction video I did was, years ago. I think that was when I first started making videos. But yeah, this was fun. I hope this turns out okay. Like I said, I really respect and like Jordan Peterson. In fact, I'm reading one of his books, The 12 Steps to Life. Is it 12 Steps? Hold on, what is the name of this book I'm reading? It is not 12 Steps to Life. It is 12 Rules for Life. I knew that. I need more coffee. Oh, also shout out to Mike Winger and his Bible Thinker mug. Literally my favorite mug in the whole world. So if you guys like this video, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Let me know if you agree or disagree with me. Let me know if you think I missed something. Give your opinions. I really like it whenever we can get some really good, wholesome conversation going about these kinds of things because I think we can learn a lot. Just be nice, okay? Just don't be crazy, all right? Just keep the comment section not a war zone, okay? All right, well, that was a really fun, unscripted video. As always, there will be more resources for you in the description of this video. Be sure to check them out.